Welcome back. Now, my next guest is leading the charge right here in Tennessee to protect children from transgender activists, and they need protecting from it. Next month, the Supreme Court of the United States is going to hear a challenge to Tennessee's law that prohibits gender reassignment surgery on minors. It's a law that our guest introduced last year in Tennessee. I want you to welcome Tennessee Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. Senator, an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Governor. Great to be with you.
This is a bill that you introduced. You got it through the Senate, the House, signed by the governor. It's law in Tennessee, but not everybody is happy about it. What is the reason that people would say, oh, yeah, little children should have completely irreversible surgeries on their bodies? We don't let them get tattoos, or we don't let them buy tobacco or alcohol, but we'd let them change their bodies permanently. Who is against stopping that?
Well, unfortunately, there are some folks out there who do advocate for this, and they refer to it by a term called gender-affirming care. Now, first of all, it's not care by any stretch of the imagination. Can I stop for a moment and say what an honor it is to be with the next United States ambassador to Israel?
Thank you. Thank you.
I could not be more proud, Governor. I can't think of anyone in the country, much less the world even, who is better suited to go and represent the United States. Your work that you've done for the people of Israel and the Jewish community for many, many years, I really believe God has led you to this position, and I praise God that Donald Trump selected you to take this position.
Thank you.
So incredibly honored
Thank you.
about that. What's really troubling, Governor, is, we found out that there was a very prominent medical facility right here in Middle Tennessee that had a dedicated clinic to performing these surgeries on children. And I recognize that kids go through tough times. I mean, puberty can be tough on kids, and some more so than others. And we should love these kids. We should love them. We should embrace them. We should get them the health we need, but we don't need to be doing irreversible surgeries, removing body parts or altering body parts, or prescribing drugs that have irreversible consequences on these kids. So I was proud to introduce that legislation. It passed overwhelmingly, and the people of Tennessee supported that legislation overwhelmingly. And where we stand right now, it's been through litigation. We expected we would get sued over this legislation. We did. And luckily, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed our law. It is in effect right now, but the Supreme Court agreed to take up this case, and the legislation I sponsored and was passed by the Tennessee General Assembly will be the test case for the entire country to affirm the rights of states to be able to protect kids from this stuff.
I think, Senator, it's such an important piece of legislation. I'm proud of you for bringing it up and passing it, getting it through. In some states, children can have these surgeries and their parents aren't even required to approve it. I mean, I'm thinking that the government at that point has stolen children from parents.
Right.
I find that un-American, disgusting, and repulsive.
Well, it is, and certainly we respect parental rights, but the states also have a compelling interest to protect kids, and you gave some great examples of other areas where we protect kids, and I felt like this is one. And it's somewhat of a sad reflection, I guess, on our society, our community today. If you'd have told me 10 or 12 years ago I'd have to be filing legislation and passing legislation to prevent this type of activity, these surgeries performed on kids, I'd have told you you're wrong. But unfortunately, it's the climate that we're in. Oral arguments, as you said, will be December 4th. I will be there. I ask your audience, those watching at home, to please pray. We want those oral arguments to go well. We probably won't get a decision until sometime next year, but I'm grateful to the United States Supreme Court for taking it up. Several of my colleagues and I are traveling to Washington to be there on the steps of the United States Supreme Court. We're going to be praying. We're going to be hoping for a right outcome from the Supreme Court.
If this law is upheld, what happens in the rest of the country? Because, as you say, this is a landmark case. If this does, in fact, get codified by the Supreme Court, it will have an impact on the other 49 states.
Absolutely. We're up to, I think it's 26 or 27 states now who have passed similar types of legislation. And so some of those are enjoined because of other federal district courts and other courts of appeals. So this will set the stage and effectively affirm the right of states to pass legislation like this. I know as a former governor, you, like me, are a big believer in federalism. You're a big believer in the 10th Amendment,
Absolutely.
state sovereignty, and the rights of, and if you read the opinion from the Sixth Circuit, it was written by Judge Sutton. He did an amazing job writing this opinion. And it's not just about the policy and states' obligation or right to regulate these types of medical procedures. It really is a 10th Amendment case. It's a case. Now, President Trump has been very vocal about this, and I think he would like to see a similar type of ban at the federal level. I would certainly support that. But this case will determine the right of states to be able to pass this type of legislation.
One of the things that a lot of people may not understand, there is money being made by pushing these procedures. You mentioned Medical Center that's in Middle Tennessee. I mean, it's a big buck proposition. Lots of money churns because people can talk a kid into getting the surgery. Because it's not just a one-time surgery. Right. It's a lifetime of treatment and transition. And I don't think we have exposed the level of, I'll use the word corruption, that exists in the medical community to make a quick buck off of just innocent children.
I have a feeling Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is about to maybe change some of that for us.
I hope so. I truly do.
I do as well. When it was revealed, and I know you're friends with the folks at the Daily Wire, they did some really important investigative reporting on this. Matt Walsh and did some undercover work and investigative reporting on this. And you're right. Not only was there a clinic that was performing these surgeries and prescribing these medications that have irreversible effects, but they also had video of an employee from this medical facility who was talking about how much money they make off of these procedures. And that, in fact, when they perform these surgeries, as you said, you're not affirming anything. It's not care. You're setting this child up for potentially a lifetime of medical complications that will have to be dealt with far into the future. And they were looking at it, some, I'm not going to say all, but there were some who are looking at it as a money-making opportunity. And how awful is that when you're talking about a child's life?
Senator, I think it's not just the people of Tennessee, but the people all across America who want to say thank you. Thank you for having the courage to introduce the legislation and the will to get it passed. Thank God.